All right, thank you for that, Stephanie. So her name is, let me just call her Ndi because I don't want to miss her name.
It's Ndifreke.
Ndifreke, yes. And she's Executive Vice President, Group Strategy for InterSwitch Group, an organization I love so much, by the way, an African-focused integrated digital payments and commerce company. She joined InterSwitch with over 12 years of experience in PricewaterhouseCoopers, working with clients both in the public and private sector, where she successfully managed engagements that covered strategy formulation and implementation, performance tracking, monitoring and evaluation, business transformation, project management, process reviews, and redesign. In her current role with InterSwitch, Indy supports the group and business lines in articulating where and how it will win within its markets, implementing and tracking realization of its strategies, and introducing new ways of working and managing change with a focus on people development. Outside the office, she collaborates with one of the leading foundations on entrepreneurship in Nigeria, where she volunteers as a guest facilitator for training programs to businesses and entrepreneurs. Ndifreke is a qualified accountant with the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, ACCA, and she holds a first degree in pure and applied chemistry from the University of Ibadan. Ladies, let me tell you, let me give you, a bit of background. I have been chasing her for like 2 years, right? As in, we have crossed the oceans. We say our participants must get the privilege of learning from such. I mean, strategy is my forte, right? And there are very few people that I know that really understand the concept of strategy. It's one buzzword that so many people just throw about without really understanding it. So for me, when I listen to people that give me a clear understanding that yes, they know what they're saying, they know their onions, it's always a privilege, and it's always exciting to learn from them. So ladies, you are learning from the best. And when I say she is one of, I'm very particular about who I bring to strategy session. So ladies, please give her a warm welcome as we, invite her to start the masterclass. You can share your slides, I believe.
Yes. Thank you, Loshi. It's a privilege to be here. Post disabled screen sharing.
Oh, okay. Apologies for that. Stephanie, please just make her co-host.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you, everyone. It's a privilege to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Okay. So I'll put up my screen in a bit so that I can walk you through what I think strategy is all about. And I'm going to tell a lot of stories, right, to bring it home. So I would need you, is it possible to engage the audience too?
Yes, so they can raise up their hands and then we can allow them to speak.
Okay, that's fine. Am I allowed?
Yes, you're co-host now.
Okay, great. Just give me a minute. Okay, apparently I have too many things open on my screen. Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, you can all see my screen, fantastic. So I'll talk a bit about strategy development, and I would also talk about strategic pivoting. And I want to talk about pivoting because it became a buzzword during the COVID-19 lockdown. I think prior to that, people did not pay attention to what it meant to pivot, but it became such a buzzword that luckily the session I was doing in for, I sort of prepared for it, and there were so many questions around it, but I was able to break it down and explain it to people. And I'll bring it up again because it's just not about COVID-19. It's something that needs to be in the DNA of every business person. And I think we all learned from the COVID-19 lockdown. So when people, this is where I thought I'll ask questions. So when people talk about strategy, usually I would ask people, what do you think strategy is? And a lot of people say strategy is about planning. It's not wrong, but the best definition for me, strategy is about choices, right? And this is where you make very clear choices about how you want to play within your market. And I'll explain that as I move forward. Why is strategy important? Why do people talk about strategy? You know, strategy is important because it helps you beat competition. Now imagine that you're a market woman, right? And you sell pepper and tomatoes. And in the market, there are 10 other ladies selling pepper and tomatoes. How do you have an edge over the others, right? How do you draw more customers to yourself? So let's assume in your market, there are 10 other ladies, so you're 11 people. And in that community, there are maybe 1,000 households. You get, if you want to win, right? If you want to get the kind of value you want from your trade, you have to be able to draw more than 30% of those households to yourself. And then the others can go to the other 10 ladies. So how do you play within that market in such a way that you can draw more customers to you? It's about winning. So I say to a lot of small business owners that you're not in business for the sake of being in business. You're in business to win, right? So the whole idea is, one, to beat your competition, to achieve your vision, right? Business is not something, and I see that a lot. There's a difference between going into business to solve a problem, to deliver value, and going into business because, oh, you did not get a job, there was nothing to do, you heard that this thing is lucrative, so you jumped into it. There's a clear difference, and we'll talk about this as we go down the slides. But most importantly, you deliver value. So you satisfy the people that came to trade with you because you understand what value means to them and you deliver that value. So there's something I always say to people, that when you look at the receivables in a typical business, let's assume somebody's owing you money, ties to satisfaction, right? And think about it. If you're trading with somebody and the person does not satisfy you, would you want to pay the person, the money you agreed at the beginning? You won't want to. So it's important because that value is what your customers pay for, not necessarily the product that you sold. And we'll talk about this as we go down the slides. So when people ask me to break down strategy, I like to use this, slide, because to me, the simplest way to explain strategy. So strategy for me is three components, right? Where to play, how to play, and what is required to play or to win. So I mix how to play or how to win. And then what do you require to play or to win? So if you notice, I didn't use arrows going this way, because if I use arrows going this way, then you have number one, you have number two, number three. They actually happen concurrently, right? And I'll explain it. So playing really is your playing field. What is your playing field? Your playing field is really around your geography. So the man that says, if I was selling soup, for example, the man that says, I want to sell soup only in the capital, let's say Lagos State, right? In Nigeria, or maybe Johannesburg, right? The man who says, I want to sell soup only in Johannesburg doesn't require certain things as the man that says, I want to sell soup across the whole of South Africa, right? What he requires to sell and move his products to his customers is totally different, right? So things like your geography start to become important. You may say, you know what, I don't want to go beyond my neighborhood. I mean, a lot of you have seen bakeries that all they serve is that street that they're located in. They don't go beyond that street. They know all their customers. They know those that come to them on a daily basis. That's it. So your ability to define that actually starts to affect so many other things, right? Then what product and service are you offering to your customers, right? So if I owned a bakery on the street, for example, and I wanted to sell only bread, that's okay. The amount of raw materials I need, everything I need for that business is different from the man in the next street who owns a bakery but says, I don't just want to do bread. I want to do snacks, right? Or I want to do healthy type of bread, not the regular bread.
Sorry,
Everything.
Indy. Sorry
Yes.
to cut you short. Could you please just increase the volume at your end? Some people are complaining they can't hear.
Oh, okay. Maybe because I'm not eating yet. Maybe I need to shout.
Okay.
Okay. So can you hear me better now? Let me know.
Yes,
Okay,
I could hear you.
I can't see the comments. Can you hear me better? And I'm
Yes,
using an earpiece.
yes, I think it's better now.
Okay.
Thank you.
So in terms of geography, right, you need to start to specify, because what you require if you were focused on only your street is different from what you require if you were covering your whole neighborhood, if you were covering the entire state where you're located, or even the country, right? The same thing with your product type. The man that says, I want to focus on only bread, what he requires is different from the man that says, oh, I want to do bread, I want to do different snacks, I want to do even other products that are not related to, bread and snacks. Then what kind of consumer segment are you interested in? If you're interested in the young population, right, it affects how you reach out to them. So distribution channel also becomes important. Sometimes, I can't remember the last time I went to my bank. I literally can do everything online. If I can't do it online, I call the customer care to say, oh, this is what I need. How do you get this across to me? I honestly cannot remember the last time I walked into the banking hall to say, I need a service. But if you compare that to my mom, if I tell her, you know what, let's not bother, I'll take you to the bank. She refuses to download an app on her phone. She wants to have that face-to-face interaction. She wants to know who she's talking to. I don't need to know who I'm talking to. I just need the person on the other side to be knowledgeable. So by the time you start to call out the customer segment you're interested in, it starts to affect certain decisions. I was having a chat with a young girl that works with me, and I was like, oh, how are you coping at home? Tell me about your personal life outside of work. And she says, I can't relate to my parents. They tell me to go to markets, right? And I don't want to go to the market. I have more important things to do. So I call somebody to deliver everything I need to the house. And my mom can't understand why I will not go to the market. I remember having a good laugh. And you can see how generational differences, right? So understanding your customer segments is important to help you understand how to deliver value to them. That young girl does not for any reason want to go to the market. But the assignment is, you want food stuff, right? I have delivered the food stuff to you. Why are you complaining? So all of those little things start to matter. So as you start to define where to play, the next question you should ask, and this is very important, is how do you want to play within this market? And that how you want to play embodies how you want to create value. And you want to create value in a way that is unique to you. Remember I said, if there are 10 of you in a space, how do you draw more people to you? How do you do better in that business than the other 10? Right? This is where you start to craft out a unique way of delivering value to your customer that others cannot easily replicate. That's the critical ingredient. So I'll talk about a laundry business because I believe that this is something that we're all familiar with. Right. So the first, okay, so something is happening to my screen. Let me see. Okay. So the first business I want to talk about, it's all about the mass service provider. So this is a laundry business, right? Everybody knows about laundry, but you can see that there are two different players here that I've showcased, and two of them are delivering the same service, but in two different ways. And you start to see their where to play and how to win embedded in this. So the first one is what I call a mass market, service provider. So this one I said, you know what? I'm going to look at a particular segment, and this segment I'm looking at is the low to medium to middle income segments, right? Now, what is it about this segment? They are in very high density locations. So some are universities. There are certain areas in Lagos, Nigeria, where you see some of these people, Yaba, Ilukbeju, Osakwa and Lekki, right? You start to see those high density locations where you have a lot of low to middle income earners, right? So for them, what is the critical offering, right? I just want you to wash and dry. So the young people that are around me, I say to them, you don't need a washing machine, right? Why would you want to buy a washing machine? You're a young single person. So you probably fall between low to middle income, right? That is their target market. And if you go to their space, I think I have a slide that sort of shows that this is what you see. So recently I was in between moving houses, so I just had this load of laundry. I was tired of carrying it all about. And I said, you know what, let me try one of these wash houses. And it was just pictured like this. They had a long sofa. Some people were seated there. They had just had machines. And so you had to pay per load. They will sort out your clothes for you if you wanted to, or you could do it yourself, but there's a charge. You come with your laundry materials or you buy from them. So you wash, you dry, you fold, you pay, you get out. And it's perfect for that group, right? But like I mentioned earlier, once you carve out where to play, which is really around that high density location and how you want to deliver value, the next critical thing, and I'll come back to this slide, is what do you require to win, right? What are those competencies? What are those system of things that helps you actually win in this way that you define value? If I go back to this detail, so you can imagine that for these low to middle income earners, you can't charge too high, right? So you have to have a price range that is reasonable enough for them. And so if you have that low price range, you really want to be extremely efficient in your operations. So operational efficiency is a critical competence for this business. Your use of water, your use of electricity, the machines are quite expensive. Your ability to maintain them properly and get the most out of them is important, because if your cost becomes high, you cannot pass it on to these customers. If you go any higher, they will not be willing to pay for the service, right? Now, and if you look at the premium provider, it's the same laundry service, but then it changes a bit. This guy targets high income earners. The location is different. So this high-end neighborhoods, guess what? A lot of the households have washing machines. So you're wondering, what are they looking for? But then these are people who have money. So they're the ones who are buying clothing, designer clothing. They're the ones buying clothing with beads and feathers and all of the. So their basic service is not wash and dry, because those guys can do wash and dry in their houses. The basic service is priority dry cleaning, right? You don't even have to select, you just drop your clothes, they'll do the sorting. They know the suitable way to clean that particular fabric that you deliver to them, and they'll sort it out for you, right? So you find that what is basic on this premium side is what is premium on this mass, for this mass service provider. So you can see his value added services: ironing, dry cleaning, pickup and delivery. That is basic here, right? Specialized dry cleaning is basic for the premium player. So value added service is really around different things like giving you priority service. So if there's a crowd, you move forward quickly. You can online real-time tracking of what's happening with your outfits. They do repairs and alteration and things like that, right? And what is important here for these premium players, it's not operational efficiency. Guess what? Guess why? Because no matter what happens, they can pass the cost to their customers, right? A lot of them, before those services came into my location, I'm based in Nigeria, by the way. Before those services came into Nigeria, some people would actually go abroad to dry clean their expensive things, right? So what is important for this premium player? It's really their brand, their reputation, quality control. So I was going through a friend who uses this, one of the young friends I have, who uses this kind of mass service, in Lagos. I was going through his apps and the kind of updates. I noticed that they had error rates, that if you gave them your clothes, they had a very low error rate, but they still had it, maybe like less than 5%. So there's a likelihood that your clothes can get mixed up, it can get missing. And I remember the owner was sort of apologizing to his customers to say, we're doing better. We started at maybe 8 or 7%, we're down to 4%. We'll continue to reduce it. You see, that cannot happen here. Imagine taking like a Versace outfit here for the premium player, and then they tell you it's missing. It's unheard of. Do you understand? So you can see how the different models of delivery, right? Different value offerings, different capabilities or competencies required. It even affects the location, right? So for those in Nigeria, if you're aware of Garment Care is in Victoria Land. They have a factory in Lekki, and I think they have something in GRA Ikeja. These are high-end neighborhoods. You can't find them anywhere else. right? But this low density players, you can find them in the mainland, in nooks and crannies in different locations, which caters to the fact that they're focused on this low to middle income earners in high density locations, right? So literally, this is what strategy is about, and your ability to carve out these things for your business, right? Create focus for your staff, gives you the opportunity to stand out from the others. And it's the standing out that gives you the ability to win, right? And if you want to go against these guys here, they have such a strong brand and reputation, right? If you want to go against them, it will take a lot, right? Because I'm sure behind the scenes, they have really expensive machines. They have to think about how to maintain it, but they can easily pass the cost to their customers. And there's a lot of trust because they've proven themselves over years, right? So, in fact, I wish somebody would show me their financials so that I'll be pleasantly surprised, right? So, that in a nutshell is what it's all about. And as you think about where to play, how to win, what is required to win, you can also consider the input. And the input is really just looking at your environment. What's happening within my environment, right? What are the positive factors in the environment that will affect my business? What are the negative factors? So in Nigeria today, the foreign exchange issue will impact any business that is trying to import raw materials, import machinery. You have to factor that, right? Who are the winners? Who are the losers? There's always something to learn from both parties. Where really is the growth opportunity and where are the risks? So you take all of that into consideration, map out the geography, right? Map out your target customers, how you want to deliver value or the channel you want to use to engage and deliver value to these customers. Then think about what is the unique way I can deliver value that differentiates me from others, right? And then what do I need to deliver this value? So I'll just walk through examples of what a capability or a competence is, right? And it's not one thing, it's a combination of everything. I call it, think about it as the machinery that you need to execute on this value, this play that you've defined, right? And I'll skip Coca-Cola because Coca-Cola is pretty, I mean, known worldwide, right? And you can see that some of these things are things they're really, really good at. For example, supply chain is really great, right? Coca-Cola. But I'll try to bring it home, right? So I'll talk about X Pizza. I don't know how much time I have, but I'll talk about this place. I call it X Place. It's an eatery, right? It's in a very central location where I am, and it is always crowded, always. Some days you go there and there's no place to park, right? And then when you walk into the hall where the food is being sold, there's just such a massive crowd. You start to wonder, like, is this the only food place in this vicinity, right? So what is the customer's experience? Now, when you walk in there, the hall is crowded, which is where they sell the food. So they have different, like this long line of the food. What do you call this place where you put food that has the show glass? You can see the food through it and it hits up the food. I don't know what it's called. So you see a lot of meals there. So all kinds of things. You see soups, you see rice, you see yam, you see beans, you see all sorts of protein, meat, fish, eggs, the insides, all sorts of things that are available. And guess what? It's cheap. So my friends came from the UK and they said, oh, they wanted to eat a local dish. I was like, you know what, I'll take you there. So there were two of them, I took them there. And we just ordered for a lot of things. And when the bill came, the bill was, I think it was less than 6,000 naira, right? Or maybe about 5,000. I mean, other drinks, right? Three people. So I was like, I want to see everything we ordered for before we pay. And my friend from the UK was like, this is so cheap. Please let me pay for it. Like I was expecting something a lot more expensive. So the food is really cheap, right? You have loads of variety to choose from. So when you leave that noisy place where you buy the food, they have this place upstairs where the ambience is really good for a place where you can eat local food. It's got AC, it's got wash hand basins, you can wash your hands. I was just watching my friends, they wash their hands. They actually relaxed. Like the AC was really good, it was working. The seats were okay. The ambience wasn't expensive, it wasn't posh, it wasn't luxury, but it wasn't really, really basic local. It was just somewhere in between that was perfect enough for this my being to friends to relax and eat, right? And then even though the place was crowded, when we walked in, there was actually somebody coordinating. The guy was like, "Oh, what do you want to buy? You want to buy like a swallow type thing with soup, or you want to buy rice?" And he was actually coordinating. And once you come forward, somebody steps forward, a lady attends to you, sort you out all the way to when you pay for it, right? That's the customer experience. So the question I was asking myself is, what kind of competencies do they have, right, that makes them stand out from the others, such that they are always crowded? I remember telling my friends that, if you want to do food business, I think this is the way to go because prices of things are rising, right? Prices of food, input and everything is increasing, and a lot of restaurants will suffer, right? But these guys, they have such a price point that it just makes perfect sense to go there to eat. So I kept thinking, what are the capabilities or competencies they have that is making them stand out? So first of all, they have a central location. Remember, it's quite decent, right? They have this place upstairs where the ambience is good, more than good enough for that kind of local restaurant. And I kept wondering, is it rent they're paying? Because if they're paying annual rent, they may not be able to afford it. Likely, there's a long-term leasehold that they've gotten on the place, right? Because if you're taking long term, you probably will be able to negotiate a better deal, right? So it's possible they've gotten this that allows them offer this for food that is that cheap, right? And then this in-house experience chefs, I use the word chefs, but it's not really chefs. These are local cooks. There's this hotel I go to eat local dish. They get the cook from for those who are Nigerians from Kwara, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I remember tasting it and I'm like, oh, this is so good. I'm coming back here, right? So they fly that lady from Kwara every weekend and they make that delicacy available for everybody. And this is a very posh, 4-star, I won't call them 5-star type hotel in Lagos, right? So they have the in-house, but I kept thinking it's not enough to have that lady, right? Because I remember working with someone who opened a pizza place in another state in Nigeria. And I said to the person, I said, you have to document this recipe and break it down in such a way that if you pick an SS3 person and give the person the menu, the person will easily replicate the dish to taste exactly the same, right? And once you have that experience or that thing that you're offering to your customer stays in-house. You just need to get people that can replicate it. Now, because the food is so cheap, the question for me was, what's the source? There likely is a direct farm to restaurant supply that these guys are benefiting from. Because if they don't have that, they can't sustain that this affordable, cheap thing that they're offering, right, to their customers. So there must be that direct supply that gives them access to this food stuff at the cheapest price possible. And then this customer service that I talked about, it's not 5-star type, like, beautiful ladies, awesome outfits. No, it was a young guy, right? Almost tout like, but he was able to coordinate everybody, right? And I just thought it made sense. She get. And then there were all these ladies at the back. I mean, I'm not saying beautiful, really posh ladies. Regular ladies who understood how to sell food. And they're like, oh, can I help you? What do you want? Would you like to try this? Would you like to try this? And then walk you through to the point of payment, right? So internally, they had a framework, because once you see the crowd, more people come out to attend to the people. So they had something in place, not, McKinsey, Harvard driven, but just suitable for that crowd. That just shows people that there's some sort of coordination and it's not just rowdiness all through. And that's the way to think about capabilities or competencies, right? So there's the experience you want to give, which is embedded in how you want to play. But there are things you must set up at the back, and I call it the machinery that allows you deliver that value and it makes you stand out. So I compare them to some other eateries. And sometimes it just makes sense to go and eat at this cheap place because I mean, and that consistency is actually very important. So I go there on Monday to eat this local delicacy. It's the same thing on Tuesday, the same thing on Wednesday, same thing on Thursday, same thing on Saturday. Because the day it changes, they will see me again, right? So the ability to actually structure your business to deliver these things and consistently is really what strategy is about. I mean, I can talk about Amazon and Coca-Cola, but I feel this is what really brings it home as regards what a capability is. And you see this farm to restaurant direct supply, not everybody can pull that off. Even this long-term leasehold, not everybody can pull that off. And that may be the secret ingredient, those capabilities that are giving them that edge over the others, right? Because let me know if I still have more time. So this is really what strategy is about. I'll round up by talking about pivoting. Do I still have time?
Yes, you do actually. Well, you have a lot of time.
Oh, okay. So I'd rather hear from people. So I want us to engage with the rest of the time. So that's what strategy is about, right? But something happened during the lockdown. People were at home, businesses shut down, right? And opportunities literally shifted or stalled for a lot of people. And people kept asking, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And the word pivoting came about, right? And I'll tell you some stories about how this happened. And this literally means that as your opportunity has shifted, right? Your ability as a business to shift to where the opportunity is what will ensure sustainability, right? So as your environment changes, you always need to be aware as a business person. So a lot of people became aware because COVID was that one-off thing that happened. But on a daily basis, things happen within your environment and it just changes the dynamic of everything happening around you. Your ability to be nimble enough to catch the information, if possible, predict it, and position yourself in such a way that as things shift, you shift with it is very, very important, right? To business sustainability. So people asked, how do I pivot? What's the framework? And so I picked this from HBR because it's actually an innovation framework. And I said this will work for pivoting because the first question is, what problem am I solving? Right? It's called job to be done, but it's really what problem are you solving? And before I drill down into this, I'll talk about a lady I observed on Instagram. So I'm one of those people, I'm a social media junkie. So when I'm done with hard work for the day, I just need to take a break. I'm all up in my social media, looking at things, laughing at what is happening. And there was this lady that I found, right? She was making banana bread before the lockdown. So everything about her was banana bread, and I think chin chin, right? So she does a lot with chin chin. She makes different flavors, different types. She was all about selling that. But then the lockdown happened. And the effect of the lockdown was such that businesses shut down, people lost their jobs. So imagine that people lost jobs, right? And then for those who had jobs, what happened was your dependencies increased because if you're taking care of your family, for example, which is typical for most African people, and your relatives and all of that, your family members are losing jobs, suddenly you have to cater for them, whether you like it or not. So when that happens, and you think about feeding, your priority is not banana bread, it's not chin chin. I mean, you're thinking about basic things like rice, like beans, like the staples that will feed your family and the people around you. So I'm sure business dropped significantly for her. But what also happened was a lot of people were at home, nothing to do. So before the lockdown, I had an activity filled life. I mean, after work, I had things to do, places to go to, things to learn. And then all of a sudden, I was at home working from back to back to back. I literally will wake up from bed, roll out from bed onto my desk, work until almost midnight, go back to bed, roll out from bed to my desk. And it was very frustrating. You know what this girl did? She put up a banner, learn how to make banana bread for 1,000 naira. I remember seeing it and thinking, I mean, it's just 1,000 naira. Like, I finally would know how to bake banana bread because I tried and it was such a flop. So I paid the money, right? And then I went into her class. It was a WhatsApp class. And she had pre-recorded videos. I didn't see her face. I don't know who she is. But she had videos that had very good and clear instructions on what to do. So I'm in the class thinking, oh, okay, I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy. And then somebody posts, I've baked my bread. And then the next person, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth. In fact, somebody posted, I didn't just bake my bread, I've wrapped it. I'm now selling banana bread. And I just thought, no, I cannot be the last person in this class. No way. I have to bake my own bread. So I went in, baked my bread, put it up. And then what started to happen was suddenly there was a lot of exchange within that group. Somebody was like, oh, what kind of butter did you use? And somebody put up a picture. Someone said, oh, I don't have a scale. How do I get the measurements right with cups? Oh, I noticed you use raisins in your banana bread. How did you swing that? Somebody put up a video on how she preserves raisin and alcohol, I think in whiskey or something. And I was just watching as a strategy person at the level of engagement in that WhatsApp group she created, right? And after people had posted, people started asking questions. Oh, I tried this, it didn't work. What are the alternatives? She wasn't responding anymore. People were responding to others within the group. And then after a while, she took all of us from, I keep forgetting the name of this channel, Telegram, yes, from WhatsApp to Telegram. And in Telegram, I think there must have been, in that class, there must have been close to 300 people. By the time she moved all of us to Telegram, I think there were close to 500, if not more people in her network. I was just watching this lady and thinking, she can release anything to this network. And she already has a customer base, right? Did you see how she pivoted to teaching? And then she had learn how to make ching ching with 1,000 naira, learn how to make cookies with 1,000 naira, learn how to make parfait, learn how to make ice cream. And I was just like, I'm coming back, I'm coming back, I'm coming back, I'm coming back. Yes, 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 yes. And I just kept thinking, this girl has a base. She has a base. What is she going to do with it? Right? But typically, because of exposure and maybe lack of information, I didn't see any activity on in Telegram with that base, right? I just kept thinking, does she know what she's just done? Like she has a platform with all of these people excited about what she's done for them, people that started selling to get based on what she taught them. And I just thought that was a perfect example of shifting to where the opportunity is. And as a business person, you don't have to be shocked into doing that, like COVID-19 lockdown did for a lot of people. On a daily basis, watch what is happening around you, watch what is happening to your customers, watch what is happening in your market, your industry, even with competition, and take that information and make a decision in your business that benefits you. Another good example was somebody who was in a class I was speaking, and speaking with, and she said she was one of those people who prepared the meals that you ate on an airplane. So that was her business. So she was one of the cooks, and then lockdown happened, planes were not flying. And she sat and I started thinking, where else, what is active in a lockdown that demands mass feeding, right? And guess where? The COVID-19 recovery centers, right? And so she just shows up there and says, I can cook really good food. And people were ordering, and before she knew it, her kitchen was back up. I remember she told the story, and I said, look, this was just a perfect example. I couldn't have done this as good as you just did, right? And that is pivoting. So something will happen in your industry or market, and your customers are dwindling. Step back, think about it, right? And that's really the question here. What problems are your customers trying to solve? Um, and if you understand the problem they're trying to solve, it's easy for you to pivot. And I'll just highlight the newspaper industry, right? If you think people buy newspapers, I see your hand, I'll soon conclude and then I can take questions, right? If you think people just buy newspapers to read, you're making a mistake. Why are people doing this? They want to stay informed, right? But things have changed these days, right? There are different ways to get informed. People on Twitter, people on Instagram, people on WhatsApp, people on social media and Facebook. You can still help them get informed. So for a printing house, your ability to shift from that paper printing to going online becomes easier if you understand the problem that you're solving. But if you don't, you can stay stuck in, oh, people want paper. No, people will still want to read the news. People want to read the news, but they want to read it a different way. Someone like me, it's very difficult to get me to sit down in front of the TV these days. So if I want to catch up on CNN, I catch up on my app. And I keep saying to myself that I want to be able to watch Addison Cooper, keep forgetting his name from Reed. I can't remember his name right now. I want to watch them in full. You get on the app. Oh, my throat. This is where I need my bottle of water, and I don't have any here. Excuse me. You get so if they understood that, then they need to be able to make this service available, even if it's at a fee for people like me. Because all of a sudden, I don't want to sit in front of the TV anymore, right? So if you understand, oh God, excuse me. I need a minute, please.
Sorry. Ladies, I hope you're taking notes. This is a loaded session, and you'd agree with me that it's simple, right? When you hear strategy, you think it's something big. Simple.
No, it's
Welcome
very,
back.
it's very, very simple, right? So if you understand these problems, then even the way you craft your product and services, it will be very clear to you, right? So understand the problem you're solving. That's an important one. Once you understand the problem you're solving, what experiences are your customers looking for, right? What experience you need to provide? And I'll give an example. A young girl, lady I know, came up to me to say, "India, I can give you the same quality of wigs that you want for a lot cheaper, right? You're paying such a lot for some of these wigs. And I think that, I mean, you guys are being robbed." And I was like, oh, okay, I can give you a shot. Supply me with something. So she does. And then she says, come to my salon in court. So I go there. I mean, the place is dusty. She didn't clean the place. I don't know why she invited me there because she could have come up with a different option. So I waited for her to clean the place, and then I sit down, and I see them struggling with the wig, trying to, adjust it or curve it. And I was like, I kept thinking, why didn't you do all of that before I came? That, when you sell certain things, the experience is part of it. I shouldn't see the making of the wig. It's there's a certain amount you charge for something. You need to hide what you do behind the scenes. Your customer shouldn't see that. They should just see perfection, right? Then you justify certain charges, that you make on those products and services. And I just kept thinking, why we should do that? Why? Because immediately I started to see the process, the value in my eyes started to drop. I didn't understand what I was paying for anymore, right? So the next question is, how then do you create the right structure, the processes, or the frameworks to make sure that you deliver this experience to your customer? I remember there was something else I needed. I was very busy. I wanted to renovate my mom's house. I got someone to help me do it. I remember telling the person, I have a lot, I'm under pressure at work, it's nearing year end, I have a lot of things to deliver. I trust you, paid him up front. Such a disaster, right? Because the experience, the value for me was I needed someone who would get it right without me being there. At some point, I had to take time off work and sit on site to ensure that I got the quality that I wanted. So then the question became, what am I paying you for? And the person didn't understand. Right? The person just kept going around in circles. And I was like, I'm going to do a business case on this young man so that I can teach how not to do business, right? But that was the experience for me. That was the value, the fact that you could deliver everything I needed without me being there, right? So if you understand the experience the person is looking for, then you have to create the structure, the processes, everything internally to make sure you can deliver this experience, and then create a brand that anywhere you are and people see that, they're like, that's the go-to person on this area, right? So I will, I think, let me see if I have anything here. Not much. So I will conclude, ignore, by saying that as you think about your businesses, right, look close to home, right? There's so many experiences, personal experiences you have that you can factor into your business. There's certain experiences I've had recently based on certain transactions that I've done that I just see opportunity. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a partner in a law firm. And I was talking to her and she was like, I'm worried that I won't be able to sustain my business in the next few years. And I was seeing a whole lot of problems, and we're talking about it, right? How she can combine technology to deliver a whole brand new set of services to the environment, right? And that's where you talk about areas of non-consumption. So the areas of non-consumption are areas that you don't typically sell to, right? Your business is maybe within this target segment, right? For what there's a stage you get to, you cover the segment, right? When you do, look to this other side. There's a way to deliver to them your service tailored to suit them, right? Those are areas of non-consumption. If we have time, I can talk a bit more about that, right? Take note of the inconveniences within you. It's an opportunity for a product or a service, right? So I'll conclude by saying that strategy is simple, right? And it's all about, like I started in this presentation, for some reason my slides are not obeying me. It's all about where to play, how to win, and then having a clear understanding of what is required to win. So I hope you've been able to follow. I'm ready for your questions.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And indeed, yes, again, it's been very, very insightful and very value adding. I mean, I don't know about, the others, but I have gleaned so much, so much from this session. But I'll quickly take the questions that have come in the Q&A chat, and then I'll take the live session. So if you want to ask a question live, please raise up your hand and I would allow you to speak. And please next time when you're sending in questions, always put your name at the very least of, and if possible, where you're joining us from. So we have AZZ Events. I don't know who this is. And she's saying that if she's moved from one location to another due to unforeseen circumstance, so how can she then begin to understand her new target markets without the business? No, so she wants to continue the business, and how can she then begin to understand the new environment? What does she need to do to analyze her new environment to see how she can continue her business in her new location?
So the simplest way to do this is just walk around your neighborhood, right? Move around the location. How do people do things in that environment? And it depends on your business. So if it was the laundry business, who are the laundry service providers, right? If they're none, how then do people take care of their laundry? Do they do it at home? Do they do it themselves? So just look around. So I had a slide up there that said X Pizza, right? It was somebody I knew that wanted to set up a pizza place in Calabar in Nigeria. And I just walked around. So I noticed that there were two places who were not pizza places, but they were offering pizza. So I went in there, ordered for pizza, chatted with them, and it helped me understand competition and what they were doing. So I saw the gaps, and it was those gaps I used to address what my friend should do differently in his business plan. Okay, so it's nothing complex. Just move around that location, study what is happening, how do people transact, how do they take care of their basic needs, ask questions, or how do you do this? How does one do this? And then you start to get a lot of insights that you can now feed into your business plan or your business. Okay?
All right, and thank you so much. Okay, so we have Memona from Kenya. She's asking, is shifting from one product to another product to another completely different product also called pivoting?
It depends. It depends, right? And you probably may need to provide clarity. So sometimes you can grow your business. So think about it this way. If I was a cleaner, right? And I had my customers, and my customers would say to me, I need cleaning services. Just come and sweep my house, right? So I go sweep their houses and leave. But then as I go into their houses, I notice that these guys have rugs, right? And the next time I go out, say, oh, I have a vacuum cleaner. I can do more than sweeping. I can actually vacuum your rugs for you. Don't you think they'll give me a shot? That's a new service I've offered. I may say, look, I have the expertise, I have equipment, I'll clean your windows, right? So sometimes you can add products and services to expand your business. So there's something called increasing, it's almost like increasing the product portfolio with your customer, right? So for each customer, your goal is actually to do more with the customer. So as you study your customer, so that cleaning lady, as she goes there to clean, she sees all the things, she notices, oh, the wife is busy, she's a worker. The next time she goes there, she can say, I can help you go to the market to buy your food stuff. Because there's trust, right, already, and she's done all the other services pretty well, it's possible for her to add on more and more and more and more. That's a way of adding new products and services to your portfolio. Now, for pivoting, if your business, I'll give you an example. There's somewhere I worked in when I was really young. I think I finished secondary school. I was 16. It was almost like a summer type job. It was like, think about it like a mini art studio, right? But they had a lot of items they also sold. They started out as a sound system company, right? I remember they started in the 60s because the owner used to talk to us about how she's been in business for over 20 years. It's not easy to do that in Nigeria. They started out selling sound systems. Yeah, but I think she lost her husband then. She started to think about what she liked, what she could sell, and she pivoted. So it was like an art studio. We used to do a lot of exhibitions. There's some renowned artists today that I saw the exhibitions when I was younger then. And then there were so many other things that she sold. So that was pivoting for her, right? And she was able to maintain that business for years. So sometimes, yes, that is pivoting, right? Because she realized she couldn't sustain the sound system and company. She thought within a few years she would go out of business, and so she pivoted. And this studio, art culture type thing that she set up, it lasted till date. She's late now, and her children have taken over. Till date, I still go there every now and then to buy certain unique pieces, right? So yes, that can also be pivoting.
Okay, so so I'm going to merge two questions into one. And it's Constance from Zambia. And I saw another question. I think May from Kenya. So they're both asking pretty much about competition, right? And so they want to, find out how do you analyze competition, right? How do you win competition? Which is everything you've talked about, but if you could just highlight specifically, I think it's more about how to do a competitor analysis.
Yes. So when you say competition, right? First of all, understand what are the products and services that they offer. So start from that, right? So what are these guys offering? So look at their products and services, right? Look at the kind of customers that come into their space. Look at their location. Literally everything you've crafted for your strategy, do the same for competition. What location have they covered, right? Who are their customers? What are their products and services? And the critical part, which is why it took time to talk to you about capabilities or competencies. What are those things behind, right? That is helping them deliver? What kind of experience do their customers have? And then what is that thing behind all of those things that they're selling? That's really the important part. So even today, as a strategy person, when I'm analyzing competition for the company I work for, I sit down and figure out that thing that is behind. For me, that is the critical information. It's not what you see outside in front. right? So sometimes we actually go in to experience the competition. I've done it for some of my clients before, where I just go into competition like a customer. I'm asking questions, I'm buying their products and services. So that pizza guy that I delivered a business plan for in Calabar, I went and I bought pizza from those places that I visited. Then I went home and I ordered for the pizza because I wanted to test the ability to deliver their product to their customers from home. And it was such a disaster. So I told the guy, I was like, hey, I think you should do this and do it better than these guys are doing it. They lack the ability to do. And I kept asking, I said, why couldn't you deliver to me at home? I thought you said you could deliver. And as they were explaining, they were giving me information, you get, that I worked with to figure out where the weaknesses were. So really, that's really what computer analysis is. But remember, the critical thing is what is behind, right? That's why I took time to sort of explain it in a simple language to all of you.
Somebody said, wow, smart woman. Okay, so we have Lucy from Kenya. Lucy's asking 2 questions, right? I think the first question is asking, what's the difference between strategy and tactics, right? And how do you align this? And the second question is, okay, so what's the difference between strategy, tactics, and a business plan?
Okay, so strategy really sets the tone, right? When you start entering tactics, it's now how you get it done, right? Strategy is so if I see a strategy document today, right, I can read it, but it's not as important as in the doing. Tactics now is where you start to articulate very clearly how you will get this done, right? So that's really the difference. So strategy sometimes is very, I don't want to say up in the air, very high-ended, right? It sort of sets the frame or the tone for what you now need to start doing. Because sometimes when you start to execute on your strategy, things have changed. Things are just happening in front of you. So the tactics now becomes the doing. How do I get this done? How do I get this done? How do I get this done? So that's really the difference. The business plan is a document, right? So your business plan is where you start to document some of these things. Now I've talked about strategy, but really you have to document this. That's a strategic plan. So what's the difference? Because my team always asks me, what's the difference between a strategy document and a business plan, right? So I always tell them that inside a business plan, there's always a go or don't go decision, right? But sometimes you have the same things being documented, right? And sometimes in a strategy plan, you may not see the financials behind it. When the business plan is absolutely important, right? You must have your financial model or financial plan behind it. Your strategy document could just be a document where you're articulating and setting the tone for a lot of things that will happen. So those are slight differences. Sometimes it's really the same things that you see across the board. But I always say that in a business plan, there's a go or don't go decision. The strategy plan is not a go or don't go, right? You decided I'm going to go this way, and this is how I want to go this way. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So let's go to those who have raised up their hands. Some of them have gotten tired and lowered their hands.
Okay.
So Oluwakemi Faju Yiton, you have been allowed to speak. Please unmute yourself and speak. Oluwakemi Faju Yiton. Okay, I would allow Samantha to speak and then get back to Oluwakemi. Samantha, please go ahead and speak.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm Samantha from Zimbabwe, but currently in Ghana. So you gave an example of a hairdresser who makes wigs. So I have a scenario whereby ladies were complaining that when they leave their wigs with someone, either they'll steal part of it, an older one inside, or those who are selling newly made wigs, sometimes they'll make one wig. So I wanted to ask, in the case of the one who made the wig in your presence, can it also be a strategy to get people to trust you when you make wigs in the customer's presence, so that you get people to come to you to avoid those instances whereby they will assume that either you removed some part of their wig or you actually made it mixing different types of wigs to make one wig? So can it also be a strategy in the environment whereby people no longer trust hairdressers who make wigs because they'll put older parts inside a new part of a wig? So can it also be a strategy in that case?
Okay, I couldn't hear you. I couldn't hear most of what you said, but if I heard from the little I could hear, you said that, I think because I talked about the fact that I didn't want to see the experience I wanted, I didn't want to see them working on the weed. You're saying that could that be a strategy in some instances? Because people are saying that when they give you hair, they don't trust that you used all of the hair they gave you. So it depends on your customer segment, right? So think about it, I'm an executive, I'm very busy, right? I cannot sit down and watch somebody make a wig for me. It's not possible, right? So if I will not even buy the hair, you buy the hair, help me select what I want. You figure it out, make it and give it to me. That's the experience that I want, right? So you have to, and this is the segmentation it's work. So you have to segment. So if the people that you're targeting have the luxury of time to sit down and watch these things happen, just to be sure that you use what was given to you. If they're willing to buy the hair, create a product for them, right? And serve them accordingly. But then the others, like myself, who are too busy, don't have time for that. I'm not, I'm not going to do that. Create a product and service for me too. So sometimes segmenting helps you now deliver what is important to each group, right? So yes, that can be a strategy for that segment. So be very clear that that is what they want, right? Or make it an offering. So it means you must have a suitable location for them to sit down and watch the process, right? And if possible, sell things. So if somebody's going to sit down and watch you, have drinks that you can sell to the person, have snacks you can sell to the person, so that while they're watching you, you're still making more money off them, right? So understand the people and create the right products and services for those people. I hope I answered
Okay,
the question. Yeah.
thank you. Yes, please.
Okay, thank you, Samantha. So I'll remove permission. Oluwakemi, are you ready to talk now? Oluwakemi, are you there?
Good evening, ma. Oluwakemi is my name from Nigeria. When you were thank you so much for the teaching. It is very, very informative. Thank you so much. I just wanted to ask, okay, when you mentioned that, your friend wanted to start a pizza business and you walked in, like you ordered, and before you know it, they started spilling the reason why they could not make the home service delivery. So I'm just asking, as a business owner, sooner or later, one will also become a competitor to another business, like another business that is starting up that is in the same line of business. So how do you protect your strategy as a business owner?
Remember, it's what is behind it, right? So it's that thing behind it that helps you deliver your strategy better. Because a lot of people can have the same strategy. You can't, you're not the only one that will figure things out. But there's something behind it that makes you do it better than others, right?
Okay.
So it's that thing behind that you need to take your time to craft. And that thing is also based on the kind of experience your customers want. Like I said, the food business I talked about, they had a location, right? That place was central and it's not cheap. That location is not cheap. So there's something behind how they got that location that is working for them, because it now gave them the opportunity to create a suitable place for people that want to see. Like I said, my friends came from the UK and they were very comfortable sitting there, eating, lunch because they wanted a local delicacy, right? So there's something behind it, and it's not something that everybody else can figure out because it's still an expensive location, right? Then in terms of how they get cheap food stuff, for them to sell cheap food, they must get cheap food stuff. Figuring out a way to get that cheap food stuff, it's not everybody that will figure it out. So that is always the essence of the strategy. It's not what you see in front, right? That thing you see in front, anybody can do it. But some people will struggle because it's very expensive for them. So if I go back to that laundry experience I talked about, that mass market, you see, I can say things like using water efficiently, using electricity efficiently. It's difficult, right? So somebody will figure it out better than the others. And it will be the secret to his trade. Who in Nigeria is aware of the price of diesel today, right? So imagine trying to manage electricity, right, for that kind of business. And I've been there. People bring, this big Ghana must go bags, right? People bring the big bags with laundry to wash there. So your ability, if you don't get those things right, if your machines are not available, right, which means the kind of machine you buy, the maintenance of the machine, those are the things that are important, not what you see in front. So competition can copy you, but there is a secret that you have at the back that nobody will figure out, and they may not find it as easy to replicate. That is always the essence.
Okay.
Because people will see you and they'll be like, she's offering this thing, I can do the thing. Oh yeah, go and do it now. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So it's actually quite a lot of work. It's simple, but there really is a lot of work and thinking going on at the back. So that's what you need to figure out.
All right.
Thank you so much, Ma.
You're welcome. Okay, so I'm going to take May, and then we'll go back to the Q&A box. May, please unmute and speak.
All right, good afternoon, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
I want to say thank you, Ndi. I've had a bit of challenges with my network. I've been in and out, but so I've not caught a lot of things, but I'm trying to study the screen so I can just get along. But I had this question and I wanted to speak it. I wanted to say it rather than type it because of, I think I'm in a peculiar industry. I'm in publishing.
Yeah.
It's a young business. I think this is the first year. And like most publishers, nobody comes to you to ask you to come and publish. But that is our strategy. We want to create the need that you can publish and everybody can publish. If you have an idea, you have a story, you have an experience, you can actually put it down on paper and have it published. And so we intend to go out and create the need. Now I have started with a small niche, and everyone I've spoken to has something they want to document. So we take it from the manuscript to the book form in soft copy. We don't print. Or rather, I'll say I started out deciding that I will print, but I had a few bad experiences with bad printers. So I decided to remove that out of my business. I don't have to print. So I'm not going to print. Now, my question is, from the little I've done and from the little sampling I've done with friends, with networks and all of that, I haven't seen competition yet. And I was part of the people asking about competition. So in my business model, the business models that we used to prepare for this class, they gave us certain business models. There was no room for competition. There was no slot for competition. So I'm wondering, in my kind of business, I'm sure when I start, somebody else will think, wow, that's something I can do, and then they'll start. So how do I prepare for competition in this kind of industry? That's my question. Thank you.
Okay. So competition will always come, right? You can't stop it. And think about it. Like I mentioned earlier, if you're doing good in a business area, somebody's going to look at you and say, "Oh, wow,
Mm.
I think I can jump in there too," and somebody will jump in, right? But what helps you stand out is the kind of value that you offer to your customers, right? So as long
Okay.
as you're offering good value, you're consistent, you're solving a problem for the customer sees the value, right? Because customers don't pay for products and services, they pay for value. The
Yeah.
customer sees the value, right? I think you're fine. What you need to focus on is doing more with your customer, moving to new geographies, new locations, introducing new products and services to your customers. So there's a section here that I skipped that talks about growth, unlocking growth, right? And
Okay.
the things you can think about to grow from where you are currently to, do more. So you see that a lot in corporate environments, but you have a customer and the question that will keep coming to you is, what else can you do with this customer, right? So if you
Okay.
imbibe that, even as a small business owner, you can see that, oh, I'm getting quite a lot from this customer. Can I understand the customer a bit more so that I can add more products and services? Can I move from this location to another location? So you can see companies expanding, right? Going beyond their location. That's another way to grow. So that way you're focused on and you're not distracted by competition because competition will always come. You can't run away from it, right?
Okay.
So don't be afraid of it. Just
Okay.
always pay attention. And just to mention, competition sometimes doesn't come directly, right? It can come from another space. So always be aware. And I'll give you an example. Do you remember, for those who are within my age group, when we were a bit younger, Swatch was the in thing, right? Or Swatch, or you had to get a Swatch, or Swatch all over the
Colored
place.
ones particularly.
And Swatch didn't expect that Apple will move into that space. Now it's all about the Apple Watch. I will use a Fitbit. And anytime I'm around, people actually notice my Fitbit because I have a leather strap instead of the popular plastic strap. And people are like, is that a Fitbit? I'm like, oh yeah. Like you can imagine my joy when I noticed there were leather straps I could use with it. Like I actually strike up conversations with people because of Fitbit. Swatch was not expecting that. You get so competition came from where they did not expect. So sometimes it happens, right? So don't just pay attention to those in your immediate space. The environment is changing so much that things we call industry is no longer industry, right? Industry lines that used to be clearly defined many, many years ago, they are breaking away. There's no clear definition of industry these days. So Apple has entered wristwatch business to get the big guys, those luxury wristwatch makers. They'll tell you Rolex will say, I don't sell wristwatches, I sell luxury, right? So they package their product. I think if you buy a Rolex, you get an automatic invitation to what's this tennis competition where you have Serena, and all the big boys and girls.
Wimbledon.
Yes, you get an automatic invitation. So people buy Rolexes to get access to those places. So those guys will say, look, I sell luxury. I don't sell wristwatches, so I'm not bothered about. Yes. And that's the way you actually craft and protect yourself sometimes. So I would say you always have competition, but be very clear about the problem you're solving. And as long as your customers see that value, you can maintain them. And the next thing you should be thinking about is how to do more with them. So the next thing you should think about is how to even grow further than where you are right now. By doing more with them, by moving to new locations, or by adding new products and services, right?
Absolutely. And if I can add, a bit, one or two things, you need to constantly innovate, right? The world is not at a standstill. Now, I hear you talk about publishing, and I'm thinking a lot of people are self-publishing. I just released my book 2 weeks ago. I published myself, and my book is on Amazon and on Seller, right? So the question then I'd ask you is how can you innovate beyond where you are, right? Because the world has moved, right? There are people, I learned how to publish. I knew next to nothing about publishing, but I learned how to publish from an online class. I can't remember how much just like, you learned how to bake banana. I can't remember how much I paid for that class, but now I've launched 2 books on Amazon and I've never needed a publisher, right? So you want to begin to ask yourself, where is the need and how can you address that need? I think the need is, there's so many people who want to be authors, but they don't have the skill of writing. Do you want to begin to address that gap? If it's something you can do, I mean, you may want to consider it. All right.
And just to add again to what you said, I remember there was a time I was just looking at a lot of novel sites. I didn't want to buy novels, right? I just wanted to read stories online and then move on. And there are sites where you can actually, this self-publishing you talked about, you can actually write your story, you publish on their sites, right? If your following or the readers hit a certain number, then they publish like real live books that can be sold, right?
Wow.
Yes. So I remember discovering that and I just thought, this is all shades of amazing. Do you get? So it's foolproof. There's no risk of publishing a book that won't sell because of the following around it, around your story. It gives you an automatic ticket, right? And your book gets published. And then you, as an author, as you're releasing your stories, because I had a friend from secondary school who was an amazing storyteller, right? So and we used to wait like this for her to write. You like, write chapter 2 now, please. Like, the story is so interesting. You have a following online, right? So as you're releasing and showcasing your creativity, you're building your following on their platform. And once you have a hit, immediately you're published. So that's how the publishing space has evolved, right? And so think about it also. There's a lot to think about. And that's really that information around how is the world around you changing on my slide. Who are the enablers? What are the enablers? Where are the challenges? Who are the winners? Who are the losers? Where is the opportunity? It's very important.
Thanks so much. Do you by any chance remember what that site is? I know.
Who I have to search. It was my heydays when I was just interested in reading novels for free, you know.
Oh, okay. Someone has answered. She said Unbound.
Okay, I can't remember, honestly.
All right. So we'll take 2 more questions. May, sorry, we can allow you to speak again. Hilary, you have the floor. And then we'll take Crystal. Crystal, please get ready. Okay, thank you guys. Wattpad. Okay. Hilary, you have the floor, please. Unmute yourself. Okay, so while she's still getting ready, Crystal, are you ready to speak? Please unmute your mic.
Hello.
Hi, Crystal. Where are you calling from? And then your question.
Okay, I'm from Uganda.
Hi, Crystal.
Yeah, so first I want to say I'm encouraged because usually in most groups I'm in, I'm the only publisher. Just like the person who said before me, it's a peculiar business. So sometimes it feels, it makes you feel a bit small or, like, are you in the wrong business? Why aren't people here? Yeah, so I'm encouraged that there's a fellow publisher. I'm at a stage where I've been helping a lot of my company helps self-publishers a lot. And I'm at a stage where I want to transition the things you've been talking about, innovate, what more can you do with the people that you have, the market that you have. And I've been very interested by that pivoting, what you explained about pivoting. But I'm just wondering, is there a way to, because also referring to one of the training videos we watched about this week about the design, having a winning business model. It seems like to pivot or to go to something new, to try a new product, it's almost like starting afresh. it feels like you're starting the company again, to try something new. And in the publishing industry in Africa, there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot that has not been tested and tried. Is there a way to sort of how can one maybe do, I don't know if it's a market research thing, or how can someone find out or know in advance that what you're pivoting to, or what you're changing to, or what you want to add into your product is worth it, because you have to invest probably new capital and all that. How do you know that it's safe to do that? It's not going to bring your company down, for fields like ours, which are a bit virgin.
Okay, start small, right? So first of all, if you have a customer base and they trust you, you have a good relationship with your customer base, always start with them. So if I talk about growth for small businesses, the first place to start is with your existing customer base. So you can imagine that lady that was making banana bread and ching ching. If she came up with something out of the blue, some creative snack, the best place to test it with is this customer base. Yeah. So sometimes you can select a small group within that customer base and test with them, and they start to give you live feedback, right? And so in the tech space, there's a way you come up with product, right? It's technology based. Usually you don't come out with a full product, launch and test it in the market. You come up with a prototype and you release that prototype to a select customer group. So they're the ones who will tell you whether it will work or not. You can get them to test it in their their real environment, and you start to get feedback. Sometimes you watch them in a closed space, how they're using it. If you see that they're frowning a lot as they're using that, it tells you something also, right? So once you test that prototype, you can even test how much they're willing to pay for that prototype. By the time you take it in, you have maybe I should not go, maybe I should go with it, right? So always start the customer base. They will give you that immediate feedback. If it works, you see that a lot of them are using it well, it's adding value to them, they're willing to pay more for it. They will tell you that that this is a winner. You can now roll out to the entire industry. So that's the best place to start, right? So start small. You can have a focus group where you test, right? And it's in the customer environment, right? See how they see the effect, get that feedback. It will tell you whether to go on or not. So that's one of the simple ways to address that. For business, sometimes it's about testing. Sometimes it will not work out, right? But you're testing, right? You test many things. It's like a chef that is creating dishes. And then you're serving people and they're like, oh, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? They're giving you feedback. Some will work, some will not work. But the important thing is you don't roll out big so that if it doesn't work, right, you don't suffer a lot of losses. You can start small. And if you get good feedback, then you want to, expand.
Okay.
So don't be afraid to try, but just always try in small doses, right? Get the feedback, think about it, then you can roll out.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. I was actually clueless about that. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's called prototyping. Right?
Yeah.
You don't even have the full thing. You just have, and think about it. So I use an iPhone, right? If you notice, Apple forces certain updates every now and then. It's because it's not a perfect product. They actually release some good version early. And then if you notice, you pay attention to the texting. When they tell you there's a software update, if you go and read it, you see that they tell you, oh, there's this problem, we just fixed it, we just fixed this problem, we just fixed it. It's never a perfect product, right? But it's released to you in a form that is already value adding, and then they now fix some of those errors along the line. So yeah. So don't be afraid.
All right, so we have 4 more minutes and I'm going to take 2 questions from the Q&A box. So we have Bothole from South Africa, and she says the coffee shop. Okay, so the coffee shop she would like to invest in, I think, okay, she wants to invest in a coffee shop. She wants to build a coffee shop, has and there's a neighbor that runs a bread making and a pizza place. And she's asking, is it possible for her to reach out to collaborate about ordering bread from them for making customer sandwiches?
Oh, yes. Yes, please. I think the mistake we all make in business sometimes is we think it's all about competition. Sometimes you can actually collaborate. So yes, please, right? You can collaborate with them because for them that's new business, right? But do the mathematics, right, behind it. Ask yourself which is cheaper, making these things yourself or getting it from them. And if you're getting from them, think about the price that they will give you that may be lower, that may be low enough for you to make a small margin on, right? So do all that calculation at the back and then approach them. But yes, please.
Thank you. I think we can take 2 more questions. So we have this question from Oluwaseyi, who says she makes ready-to-wear outfits, but things have slowed down. The physical store wasn't bringing in sales. So she decided to include first-grade US wares and other fashion accessories, which she advertises online, and those has been bringing some form of revenue. Now she's asking, is there a way she can continue this business she's pivoted to and still without, threatening the continuity of her ready-to-wear business?
So why don't you create 2 different businesses so it doesn't affect the other, right? So this first grade US wear, I believe it's used clothing, right? Because I actually see a market for it. I've seen some sites online on Instagram. And sometimes I look at the outfit, I'm like, this is an amazing outfit, but they'll never have my size because once it shows up, people just like first come. But there's one I saw, I started to message them, say, how come I never see anything to buy, right? And I was just I mean, like I said to you, I'm a junkie and I just analyze a lot of businesses I see online. So it's a good business, right? And I think one of the things they do is when people buy and wear, they actually advertise the wearers. And I just think, oh my God, this outfit I saw, it looks amazing on this young lady. And they draw more customers. And you're ready to wear can be a different brand, a different channel. You don't have to sell the same. If it's Instagram, you don't have to sell both on the same page, right? So you're ready to wear. One of the reasons things slowed down during COVID-19 lockdown for a lot of clothing houses is because people were staying at home. So one of the things I told people, because I had this question before, was why don't you pivot to housewear, right? Because from the house, I'm attending meetings, but I want things, loungewear. If you notice, a lot of loungewear became popular. A lot of the places I shop online, all of them started introducing loungewear. And I'm thinking, why can't the rest of you locally do the same? So change the style to suit the demand of your customers. Maybe that will work, right? There was a time I needed shorts because I was at home. I'm wearing a shirt right now, but I'll have shorts underneath. And all the shorts were sold out. I went to ASOS, I looked at Next, I looked at River Islands, I looked at there were no shorts for sale. It was all sold out, right? So it tells you what people are actually buying and looking for. So pivot to what people are wearing today. But people are going out now. Like these days, I go places and I don't see people wearing masks. So try and catch what is in trend or on trend right now. It will help you ready to wear, right? Just create different brands so that one doesn't affect the other. Sell them on different, so if you're on Instagram, have 2 different sites, right? Pursue 2 different business lines, more or less. I don't think it will have an effect on the other. So take this one seriously, create a strategy around it. Take this one seriously too. Like I said, I see these ladies and they advertise the people who had bought. And so those guys buy, wear it, have their pictures on Instagram, and the seller picks the pictures or tells them, share your picture with me. advertises on the site and draws people like me. I don't need it, to be honest, right? But I'm just attracted. I'm like, I could have bought this one now. And I'll be talking to the lady like, how come you never have my size, right? So it can actually work.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. All too soon, we've come to the end of this session. Finn, you say it's very insightful session. We have such a calm and intelligent speaker. Of course.
Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, ma'am. I mean, this is how a strategy class should be like, very simple, practical, something people can relate with, and most importantly, you've given the ladies something they can take home and go and action on. Because right now, ladies, you'll be getting an email before the end of the day, and your first major assignment will be on its way. And this is where you now have to apply everything you have learned in the last 3 weeks. And I advise you to watch all the videos again, because I mean, there's some questions that you're asking and I'm thinking, oh, this question has been answered, right? We always ask you to start from solving a problem. The best way to minimize your losses and minimize your risk is to look for a problem and solve the problem, as opposed to you pushing out your passion or your idea into the market. You just want to minimize your losses or your risk, right? So please go back. Yes, so practical and broken down simply. Thank you so much. That's from Adiola Ayeni. I'm not able to read all the messages. Calm and insightful session, insightful. Excellent delivery. The class was wonderful. Yes. Please, let's say a big thank you to our facilitator. Thank you so much, Ma. We truly appreciate your time and not only your time, the commitment you've shown to really helping these women solve their business issues. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone. I look forward to seeing all of you succeed in your businesses. It's been a pleasure. Thank you again, Oluwaseyi, for the opportunity. And good night or good evening, everyone.
Thank you so much. Have a good night rest.
Bye.
Bye. All right, ladies. So that was beautiful. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. So it's time for us to call it an end. So that's the end of today's session today. Madam at the top, Stephanie, will send us more information as on the next steps. Don't forget to fill your attendance form if you have not filled it already. Bye.